Cleveland, Ohio, September 14. Andrew MillerFrom the time that Tony LaRussa began structuring his bullpens with match-up relievers and one-inning closes, the build of a bullpen has changed drastically. Many older fans are fans of less pitching changes, harken for the days of power-armed relievers who could handle 23 innings when called upon, dominating the opposition's lineup. When Andrew Miller moved into the bullpen with the Boston Red Sox in 2012, he immediately saw his career take an upswing. He was the hottest item on the 2014 midseason trade market, and after continuing his dominance for a season with the Yankees, he was traded in 2016 at the midseason mark to Cleveland, who immediately altered how the reliever would be used. No longer would he be a guy who would come out to throw just one inning at a time, sometimes 23 days per week. Instead, he would be used 12 times per week, but for multiple innings, building him up for a playoff run when Miller was the ALCS MVP along the way to throwing 10 postseason games, pitching 1913 innings, and posting a 1.40 ERA and 0.88 WHIP along with a crazy 530 BBK ratio. This season has seen a few teams adopt somewhat of a similar strategy, as the Houston Astros have employed Chris Devinsky in a similar manner. The Chicago Cubs have effectively used Mike Montgomery as a fill-in starter when HES not being used in a similar way out of the bullpen. The Dodgers have sent out Ross Stripling in a familiar way, and the Arizona Diamondbacks were utilizing both Archie Bradley and Randall Delgado in that manner for quite some time this season. So who could be the next pitchers to dominate a postseason in this manner? First, we should look at what exactly we're looking for when reviewing the pitchers who make good candidates. Pseudo-requirements. Many former top relievers are failed starters, so that's not exactly a requirement, but in the cases of most of the players who have succeeded in this role, the value as a starter was not completely lost, but due to an issue with maintaining health or keeping the delivery over 5 innings, starting became clear as not the future path. With most of the guys this works best for, the commonality is height. Part of the issue with keeping consistent mechanics is that it occurs very frequently with pitchers who are 66 inches or taller. Miller is 67, and while none of the guys mentioned previously are that tall, none is shorter than 63 inches either. Last but not least, a dominant secondary pitch to go with a fastball that plays up in short bursts. Miller's is his sweeping slider, but it could be a killer changeup or a nasty split finger or a knee-buckling curve. Whatever it is, the pitch tends to get a load of strikeouts at the minor league level. So let's take a look at some of the young pitchers who could be filling this role in the near future, starting with one who is getting his feet wet in the role already. Page 2. Use your arrows to browse. Long legs, long arms, and long flowing hair would lead one to think Hader is actually taller than he is, but he still stands in at 63. The 23-year-old opened the season with the Brewers' Triple-A club in Colorado Springs, where he had a rough 5.37 ERA after finishing with a similar 5.22 ERA at the level in half a season there last year. On his third organization after originally being drafted by the Baltimore Orioles in the 19th round of the 2012 draft, Hader got to Milwaukee as part of the deal that sent Carlos Gomez and Mike Fiers to Houston. He absolutely dominated Double-A in the first half of 2016, but he ran into a buzzsaw at Triple-A. Many thought he would bounce back as Colorado Springs is a difficult pitching environment, but instead, he slipped further, seemingly forcing the Brewers' hand on whether he would remain a starter or transition to the bullpen. Hader has a similar arsenal to Miller, with a fastball that can run up to the upper 90s and sits in the 9,295 area most of the time. For the bullpen, that moves up even further on the velocity scale, as he can bump up against triple digits on the top end. He also uses a nasty slider that is difficult for hitters to pick up from his low 34 arm slot, often compared in his arm slot and angled to fellow left Chris Sale. While Hader would have the upside of a frontline type of starter in the rotation, moving him to the bullpen was looked at as a short-term move, but HES taken so well to the role that he may be there for the long haul. Hader has posted a 1.85 ERA over 30 appearances and 39 innings, with a 1.03 WHIP and a 2,155 BBK ratio. There is still some wildness, but he is so difficult to square up in short bursts that Hader could have incredible value out of the bullpen for his career. Use your arrows to browse.